The story begins when a girl named Tamako is seen enters Red Cat Ramen, a ramen shop run by a group of cats who can talk and cook like humans. At that moment, Tamako is greeted by a white cat named Hannah, who is in charge of serving customers and taking their orders. Tamako then orders a bowl of shoyu ramen, which is prepared by Bunzo, the head chef and the owner of the shop. Upon realizing that Bunzo is the shop owner, Tamako stands up and announces that she has come for a job interview. The cats are shocked to hear this because Bunzo plans to hire a human. It turns out that Bunzo hires Tamako to brush the cat's fur to prevent it from shedding, as it could contaminate the food they serve. In addition, they have posted clear instructions asking customers to understand if some cat fur still ends up in the food, despite Bunzo and the others' efforts to keep everything clean. Most of the customers who visit are cat lovers, so they don't mind the occasional fur. Even so, there are still a few people who protest when they find cat fur in their food and demand compensation, threatening to report them to the Hygiene Bureau. Tamako, knowing this, becomes anxious because their shop might be shut down by the Hygiene Bureau. However, a gray cat named Sasaki calls on a tiger named Krishna to scare off customers who intend to disrupt their business. Fortunately, Krishna manages to resolve the issue easily, although she actually has a shy and gentle personality. After a long day of work, Bunzo asks Tamako to brush his fur, while the other cats prepare to close the shop. Shortly afterward, Bunzo introduces the Red Cat Ramen staff to Tamako. First, there's Sabu, a black cat who serves food to the customers. Then Hannah, who greets the customers and takes their orders. Sasaki manages the finances and acts as the cashier, and finally Krishna, who makes the noodles. Tamako then formally introduces herself to them, and reveals that her aunt had asked her to work at the ramen shop. It turns out that Tamako's aunt was the owner of the shop before Bunzo bought it. Upon hearing this, Hannah becomes upset and leaves the room. Tamako worries that she might have hurt her feelings, but Bunzo reassures her that Hannah is fine, so Tamako doesn't need to worry about it. The next day, Tamako arrived at 9 in the morning to work. She began her tasks by brushing Krishna and the other cats. However, Tamako noticed that Hannah was still angry with her, as she was the only cat whose fur hadn't been brushed. Hannah, still acting coldly toward Tamako, mentioned that she had a favorite brush, as did the other cats. Therefore, Hannah criticized Tamako for not asking the other cats about their preferred brushes. After brushing the cats, Tamako was assigned to clean and tidy the employee break room, which was quite messy. Nevertheless, Tamako didn't complain and continued her work diligently. As she became too focused on cleaning, she lost track of time and neglected her duty to assist Krishna. However, Sasaki didn't mind the oversight, as Tamako was still adjusting to her new job. Once Tamako finished her work for the day, Sasaki gave her an employment agreement and asked her to submit her resignation letter from her previous job. Tamako reviewed the agreement and felt moved, realizing that Red Cat Ramen cared deeply for the well-being of its employees, something very different from her old workplace, where the staff were treated poorly. Knowing this, Sasaki and the other cats sympathized with Tamako. Bunzo even made a special bowl of ramen for her as a reward for her good work that day. Tamako thanked Bunzo and the others, feeling very grateful for the warmth and care shown by the ramen shop staff. The following day, Tamako had a night shift, so she arrived at the shop at 4 in the afternoon. As usual, she started her shift by brushing the cat's fur. While Bunzo was being brushed by Tamako, he asked her to help with dishwashing, as they often became overwhelmed with customers and couldn't keep up with the dirty dishes. Tamako didn't mind the extra task, but Hannah opposed the idea, fearing that her presence would ruin the ramen shop's image. Aware of this, Sasaki had prepared several cat-themed costumes for Tamako so that she wouldn't draw too much attention, as she was the only human working at the ramen shop. Unfortunately, Tamako still stood out, especially since she wore a strange costume, which immediately caught the customers' attention. Some even felt jealous of her because Tamako got to work at their favorite cat-themed ramen shop. Hearing their conversations, Tamako became a bit disheartened, but Sabu comforted her and reminded her to stay focused, as the shop would get very busy during the night. Sure enough, customers started pouring in, and Tamako became overwhelmed by the sheer number of dirty dishes she had to wash. Realizing she needed to finish her work quickly, Tamako removed her face covering, so she could wash the dishes more efficiently. Seeing this, Hannah became upset, thinking that the customers would notice her presence and be bothered by it. However, the customers didn't mind at all and continued enjoying their meals as usual. After the shift ended, Sasaki seemed satisfied since all the dirty dishes were washed, and he praised Tamako for doing a good job. Tamako then apologized for having to remove her face covering as it was obstructing her vision, but Sasaki reassured her, saying that the most important thing was that Tamako had done her job well. Hannah, still feeling annoyed, decided to head home quickly, but Tamako offered to brush her fur before she left. Unable to refuse the offer, Hannah let Tamako brush her fur. The following day, after brushing Sasaki's fur, Tamako went to the noodle production room to help Krishna make noodles. Tamako was quite skilled at rolling the noodles, but she seemed sad when she learned that customers rarely ordered the special ramen, even though the noodles for the special ramen were handmade. Meanwhile, a man named Ken was live-streaming inside Red Cat Ramen, even though a sign at the entrance clearly stated that recording or taking photos inside the shop was prohibited. As a result, Sabu and Bunzo tried to kick him out, but Ken became even more excited because his live stream was being watched by thousands of people curious about the cats running a ramen shop. With no other choice, Sasaki went inside to ask Krishna for help, but Tamako volunteered to deal with Ken herself, as she didn't want him to achieve his goal of making a viral video and becoming famous on social media. Tamako donned the costume prepared by Sasaki and politely tried to get Ken to leave. Surprisingly, her efforts paid off as the viewers of the live stream gradually became annoyed with Ken and urged him to stop the live stream. Some customers in the ramen shop also became irritated and threatened to call the police if Ken didn't leave immediately. However, Ken, being stubborn, continued his antics until a bald man named Mikio appeared and dragged Ken out of the shop. After the commotion, Red Cat Ramen gave free coupons to the customers present and apologized for the inconvenience. The cats also praised Tamako for doing a great job in handling Ken. Despite his tough appearance and muscular build, Mikio wasn't a police officer, but a lawyer who had helped them set up the ramen shop from the beginning. He was also a gentle and kind-hearted man who loved cats deeply. The next day, Tamako showed the poster she made to promote the special ramen menu and attract more customers to order it. Bunzo and the others were impressed by Tamako's poster and praised her. They also agreed with her idea to promote their special menu, but they told Tamako to show the poster to Krishna first, as she had used Krishna as the model on the poster, who was known to be a very shy tiger. As expected, Krishna flatly rejected Tamako's idea because she didn't want her picture displayed in the ramen shop for everyone to see. As a result, Tamako became very sad, thinking her poster wasn't good enough, which is why Krishna rejected it. Hannah then asked Tamako if she often made posters like that, where Tamako explained that she used to work at an advertising company and often created promotional materials for the company's products. Upon learning this, Hannah went to Krishna and tried to convince her to approve Tamako's idea, as it could increase the ramen shop sales, which would be financially beneficial for them as well. After being persuaded by Hannah, Krishna finally agreed and apologized to Tamako for making her sad. Krishna admitted that she really liked the poster, but was too embarrassed for her picture to be seen by so many people. However, for the sake of their business, Krishna was willing to have her photo displayed at the ramen shop to attract more customers. Hearing this, Tamako was instantly overjoyed and asked Krishna for permission to take her picture while she was making noodles. Tamako also thanked Hannah for convincing Krishna to accept her idea. The next day, Tamako, who was scheduled to work the night shift, was surprised when she arrived at the ramen shop and found the cats looking utterly exhausted. It turned out they had been overwhelmed serving the many customers who came during lunchtime, so they asked Tamako to wash the piles of dirty dishes. That night, Red Cat Ramen was packed with customers, with some even willing to wait in line outside because all the seats were taken. Tamako and the cats worked diligently and provided the best service possible, despite the large number of customers. Soon after, an old man named Pietro was thoroughly enjoying the shoyu ramen he had ordered, but he then asked about the ingredients used to make the ramen. While cooking, Bunzo explained that they didn't use any onions as they were harmful to cats, even in small amounts. Although he had never tasted his own cooking, Bunzo relied on his instincts and sense of smell while preparing dishes. He also followed the recipe passed down from the shop's previous owner. Bunzo added that at Red Cat Ramen, they prioritized service, while taste came second due to the limitations on ingredients and the fact that all the food was prepared by cats. Upon hearing that, Pietro then looked around and realized that the customers coming to the ramen shop were cat lovers who didn't seem to care much about the taste of the ramen cooked by cats because they felt comfortable with the cats serving them. Before leaving, Pietro said that he had always thought taste was everything. However, after coming to Red Cat Ramen and tasting Bunzo's ramen, he realized that the ramen shop had touched many people's hearts in a unique way. Afterward, while Sabu and the other cats were curious about Pietro, Krishna, who was in the break room, was reading an article about Pietro, who turned out to be a famous chef. The next day, Tamako was surprised when she arrived to find a man wearing a gas mask. Sasaki then introduced the man, named Shirasaki, to Tamako, explaining that he wore the mask because he was allergic to cats. Shirasaki was a technician called in by Sasaki to fix the dishwasher to make her work easier. While Tamako was brushing Sabu's fur, Hana and Krishna were talking about Shirasaki, as Sasaki had once mentioned that Shirasaki was very handsome. Because of this, Hana and Krishna were curious to see his face. Soon after, Sasaki called Tamako because Shirasaki was going to explain how to use the dishwasher. Hearing this, Tamako took off her jacket because it was covered in cat fur, and she didn't want to make Shirasaki uncomfortable. After finishing his work, Shirasaki packed up his things and was about to leave. At the same time, Tamako realized that Shirasaki had left his screwdriver behind, so she hurried to catch up with him. In that moment, Tamako discovered that Shirasaki actually wanted to try Bunzo's famous ramen, but he was too afraid his allergy would flare up, even though he had made sure there was no cat fur on him while working in the ramen shop. Knowing this, Tamako took the initiative to ask Bunzo to make a bowl of ramen for Shirasaki so that he could taste their signature dish. Tamako assured him that Bunzo always made sure no fur fell into the ramen, and if Shirasaki's allergy flared up, she would buy medicine for him and make sure he received medical care. Shirasaki was deeply touched by Tamako's effort and thanked her. He then removed his mask, and, just as Sasaki had said earlier, Shirasaki turned out to be very handsome, leaving Krishna and the others mesmerized by him. The following days, Bunzo asked Tamako about the dish she wanted to eat. Tamako, whose weight had increased from eating ramen frequently, requested Bunzo to cook something else. Knowing this, Bunzo made a vegetable soup with added meat for their lunch. After lunch, Tamako and the others decided to take a 2-hour break before getting ready for their night shift. Although Tamako wanted to spend her break time on her phone, Krishna told her to sleep instead. Krishna even hugged Tamako lovingly. As a result, Tamako was deeply touched by the warmth she received from Krishna, and she soon fell into a deep sleep. Shortly after, Bunzo received a package, which turned out to be the poster Tamako had designed, printed in a larger size. Before hanging the poster in the shop, Hana asked Krishna to look at it, but she was too embarrassed to see her own picture, even though she looked great in the poster. After they put up the poster, the demand for the special ramen increased significantly. Although Tamako was happy about this, some customers seemed unable to finish the special ramen for various reasons. One such customer was Kanna, a woman who was a big fan of Krishna. Kanna wanted to try the special ramen, but because the portion was too large, she couldn't finish it without the help of her friend. Because of this, Sasaki decided to create a new menu, a half portion of the special ramen, so customers like Kanna could enjoy their signature dish. Seeing that the profit margin was high, Sasaki planned to make the half-portion special ramen a regular menu item in their ramen shop. On another day, Sasaki asked Tamako to wake up Sabu, since they needed to get ready to open the shop soon. It turned out Sabu had overslept because he stayed up all night playing video games. As a result, Sasaki warned him not to stay up late too often, but Sabu said he wanted to participate in an upcoming gaming competition. Tamako, who also played video games, was impressed with Sabu for making it through the preliminary rounds. On the other hand, Sabu was happy to have found a friend to talk to about games. Meanwhile, Sasaki, listening to their conversation, assumed that Sabu was planning to quit his job, especially after learning that the winner of the competition would receive a large cash prize. Sasaki then expressed his concerns to Hana, who also relayed them to Bunzo. Bunzo, surprised to hear this, immediately asked Sabu if he was planning to resign. Sabu tried to explain that he just wanted to have fun, as gaming was his hobby. However, Bunzo and the others encouraged Sabu to do his best and win the competition. The following days, Sasaki informed Tamako that Krishna was going through a shedding phase, which explained why she had been growling and irritated since the morning. Hearing this, Tamako immediately brushed Krishna's fur and noticed that there was much more shedding than usual. During this period, Krishna couldn't scratch herself because her fur would scatter and risk contaminating the noodles she was making. After Tamako brushed her fur, Krishna gradually calmed down and returned to her work. While Tamako was brushing Bunzo's fur, she asked him about the history of the ramen shop. Bunzo then shared that the previous owner had started the business using only a cart. After the owner became frequently ill, Bunzo decided to take over the business. When Tamako asked Sasaki, he explained that Bunzo had initially been reluctant to open the shop, so he had to convince him. Meanwhile, Sabu was a stray cat before he was recruited to work at Red Cat Ramen, so he wasn't very familiar with the shop's history. Sabu also added that the cats working at Red Cat Ramen had to train hard to prevent their fur from shedding while they worked. When Tamako asked Hana about her past, she became irritated because Krishna had told Tamako about her very long fur. Frustrated, Hana went to see Krishna, but she was having trouble because her shedding process was still ongoing. Seeing this, Tamako took the initiative to brush her fur, helping Krishna feel better. That evening, Mikio came to the ramen shop with his junior, Gasho, to discuss a video uploaded by Ken that had already spread widely on the internet. Gasho assured them that they didn't need to worry, as she had already filed lawsuits against those who were intentionally using the video for their own benefit. Gasho added that it would be difficult to remove all the videos, and it would require a lot of money. Nevertheless, she reassured them that for now, the video had only circulated among cat lovers. While Bunzo and Sasaki were consulting with their lawyers, Hana and Tamako were talking about Gasho, who turned out to be a cat lover. As Tamako was walking home, she was surprised when Gasho invited her for tea at a cafe. It turned out that Gasho had previously worked at Red Cat Ramen, doing the same job Tamako was doing now. However, because Gasho was a cat lover, she had unintentionally made the cats uncomfortable, especially when they realized Gasho would do anything to be with them every day. After learning that Gasho was a good person, Tamako mentioned that Hana and the others wanted Gasho to contribute according to her abilities, or in other words, help them as a lawyer. Upon hearing that, Gasho became enthusiastic and promised to contribute to Red Cat Ramen, one way being by becoming a regular customer, even though she often disguised herself when visiting the shop. A few days later, rain fell, and Red Cat Ramen looked quiet, with only 2 customers enjoying their ramen. One of the customers, a woman named Yuki, mentioned that coming to the ramen shop always lifted her spirits. However, she couldn't come too often because eating ramen every day might make her gain weight. The next day, Yuki returned to the ramen shop with a muscular man who loved to eat. Yuki recommended Red Cat Ramen to the man, and he seemed to enjoy all the dishes there. The man then asked for Yuki's phone number, as they had just met, and fortunately, they shared the same taste in food. On the following evening, the staff of Red Cat Ramen were busy serving the stream of customers coming into the shop. Hana was explaining the menu to 3 men who were new customers. They appeared nervous because the ramen was cooked by a cat. When one of them, a man named Takashi, was about to take a photo of the ramen, Sasaki quickly stopped him and explained the shop's rules. After working that night, Tamako decided to go to a cafe to have a salad for dinner, although in reality, she really wanted to eat ramen made by Bunzo. While at the cafe, Tamako accidentally saw Sasaki sitting in the back seat of a luxury car. The next day, Tamako told Krishna about this, but she called Sasaki over so that he could explain it directly to Tamako. Sasaki revealed that he is the primary manager of Red Cat Ramen because he was the one who provided the funds to buy the ramen shop. It turned out Sasaki had inherited a significant amount from his previous employer, and with that inheritance, he began running several businesses and investing. Shortly afterward, while making noodles, Krishna shared that she was born in a zoo but struggled to adapt because she couldn't please the visitors. When she was feeling very down in her life, Sasaki suddenly appeared to help her. Apparently, Sasaki had heard about Krishna's story and decided to recruit her to work at the ramen shop. Krishna also told Tamako that Sasaki often engages in charity work, helping cats who are in difficult situations. Because of this, Krishna feels very grateful to have met Sasaki, who then introduced her to Bunzo and the others, who cared deeply for her. The following day, Bunzo introduced Tamako to a woman called Mama, who owns Bar Rat, located next to their ramen shop. Mama often helps the cats, especially Krishna, by brushing their fur without expecting anything in return. Additionally, Mama frequently orders large quantities of dumplings because her customers love the dumplings made by Sabu. During their conversation, Mama expressed concern upon learning that Tamako's main job was brushing the cat's fur. Mama worried that Tamako might develop tenosynovitis from brushing too much. Tamako assured her that she was fine, but Mama still checked her condition and even gave her a light massage to make her feel better. Soon after that, Bunzo asked Tamako to taste the dumplings made by Sabu, as he had secretly changed the recipe without asking his permission first. Fortunately, the dumplings were still delicious, even though Sabu had altered the recipe. The next day, an elderly woman named Taijima was seen arriving at Red Cat Ramen, and the cats, especially Bunzo, seemed to know her well. Taijima was a friend of the previous owner of the shop and had often helped Bunzo and the others since they first opened the ramen shop. It was also known that Taijima had a cat named Mamoru, who often helped them select and train candidates before they started working at the shop. Knowing that Taijima was very particular about taste, Bunzo carefully prepared ramen for her. Fortunately, Taijima liked the ramen and even patted Bunzo on the head in appreciation for his hard work. On another day, Tamako brought a watermelon for the cats, and it turned out they loved it, especially Krishna. As a result, they all thanked Tamako for bringing the watermelon for them. That evening, a man named Shintani came to offer a franchise business collaboration for a ramen shop to Bunzo and Sasaki. Shintani then explained the prospects of collaboration by implementing the Red Cat Ramen concept across his entire ramen franchise network. Upon learning that, Sasaki replied that not all cats are happy to work, especially since cats prefer to be lazy. Sasaki also explained that they would need to train the cats first, which would require a significant amount of time and money. Essentially, the Red Cat Ramen concept could not be implemented easily because there were so many challenges and obstacles they would have to face before opening a ramen shop. Bunzo, realizing that Shintani only cared about profits and was willing to do anything to get what he wanted, firmly told him to leave. Shintani, feeling annoyed and thinking that the cats in the shop were too arrogant, then ordered his assistant to disrupt the Red Cat Ramen business. However, his assistant was a cat lover and was very fed up with Shintani, so she decided to resign from her job. On a hot day, Sasaki, who was about to close the shop, accidentally saw a very exhausted mother carrying her baby. As a result, Sasaki offered the mother to take shelter inside the shop and serve her a glass of cold water. The mother was initially worried because she came with her baby, but Sasaki explained that anyone could come to the ramen shop, including children. The mother then ordered a bowl of ramen while her baby played with Sasaki. While they were resting, Bunzo and the others warned Sasaki not to be too kind to customers because it would become a hassle for them, especially if the mother told her friends to come there with their children. Although Sasaki only wanted to help the mother and her baby, he soon realized that they would be overwhelmed if many customers came with babies and asked the cats to play with their children. Soon after that, Tamako started her work by grooming Krishna. Over time, her skills in grooming improved, making the cats feel very comfortable and eventually fall asleep. Tamako used various types of combs that could be adjusted to the cat's preferences. Additionally, Tamako took the initiative to study cat anatomy so that she could make the cats feel comfortable while grooming them. Due to Tamako's hard work and efforts to continue learning, Sasaki gave her a gift in the form of a Red Cat Ramen t-shirt and a black outfit made of cooler fabric so that Tamako would feel more comfortable and freer while working. Tamako then thanked Sasaki and felt very grateful that her coworkers, who were all cats, were very caring towards her. One day, Bunzo told the story of the former owner of the ramen shop, who turned out to be his master. Apparently, Bunzo and Sasaki were once stray cats adopted by the ramen shop owner, and although at that time he didn't have much money, he was very caring towards the two cats. Some time later, Sasaki was adopted by someone else, while Bunzo stayed to help the shop owner cook ramen and serve customers. Even though Bunzo had opened his own ramen shop, he always took the time to visit his former master. Bunzo then asked Tamako to taste a new menu that he was developing. Thanks to Tamako and also Krishna, who diligently learned and often tried new things, Bunzo was motivated to create a new menu, which was very well received by Sasaki and the others. One day, Sabu and Hana were seen arguing because Sabu accused Hana of eating his precious snack, while Hana insisted that she did not eat it. Their argument created an awkward atmosphere, and even a loyal customer noticed that the cats were having problems. During lunch, Bunzo finally admitted that he was the one who had eaten Sabu's snack and apologized to them. Upon hearing that, Sabu felt relieved because the snack was something he bought to give to Bunzo, which is why he was so angry when it went missing. Bunzo was very touched by this, to the point of tears, but on the other hand, Hana looked annoyed because Sabu had accused her. Eventually, Hana took Sabu's lunch and let it be as an apology for being wrongly accused. Soon after that, Yuki's friend, a muscular man named Taki, came to the ramen shop to ask for advice. Taki turned out to be a fighter, but he had never won a competition and was frustrated because of it. Taki intended to ask Krishna for advice, but she admitted to being a timid tiger who often felt insecure. Despite that, when the other cats faced problems, Krishna still tried to help them because she knew that fighting to protect her loved ones would give her extraordinary strength. Sasaki, realizing that Taki actually had romantic feelings for Yuki, then suggested that he fight for Yuki so that he could express his feelings to her after the match. Not long after, Yuki arrived and was surprised to see the cats cheering for Taki. The next day, Sasaki asked Tamako to help him with administrative tasks, and she accidentally found out his very cute first name, which was Pudding. Sasaki actually didn't mind it, but he sometimes felt embarrassed if someone called him by his first name. That night, Shirasaki came wearing a mask and intended to eat there. He said that he had just taken allergy medicine, and since tomorrow was his day off, he wanted to have dinner at the ramen shop. Knowing this, Sasaki then told Shirasaki to sit at the bar while Bunzo cooked his ramen order. Shirasaki looked surprised when the cats offered him extra snacks as a thank you for often helping them. It turned out that Shirasaki lived alone and had no family. Additionally, he worked while saving to fund his studies. Knowing that Shirasaki had contributed so much to Red Cat Ramen, the cats promised to always support and cheer for him. Soon after that, a woman named Yoko came to the shop and suddenly called Hana by the name Pippi. Yoko turned out to be her former master, who used to be a famous idol cat on the internet. But unexpectedly, Hana decided to run away and cut her fur short. Furthermore, Hana said that she was fed up with people who always insulted and belittled them. Hana might not care about their insults, but she felt sad and guilty because Yoko had to undergo multiple plastic surgeries and change her appearance just to avoid them. Not wanting Yoko to get hurt, Hana chose to run away and start a new life by working at Red Cat Ramen. Hearing this, Yoko almost caused a scene as she tried to convince Hana otherwise. Fortunately, Shirasaki immediately stopped this and politely asked Yoko to leave. At the same time, Gasho, who had apparently been in disguise, revealed her disguise while stating that she was a lawyer from the law consulting office working with Red Cat Ramen. As a result, Gasho invited Yoko to discuss the matter elsewhere, so as not to disrupt the operations of the ramen shop. The following day, Hana said that she and Yoko had resolved their issues and had talked heart to heart all night. At that moment, Krishna and the others felt worried because they thought Hana would resign and return to her old life as an idol cat. Upon learning that, Hana assured them that she would not resign from Red Cat Ramen because she loved her job very much. After clearing up all the misunderstandings, they prepared to open the shop. Unexpectedly, Yoko and Gasho arrived very early at the shop, and Hana immediately offered them the special ramen menu. Yoko had taken the time to meet Hana before going home. Additionally, she wanted to taste the special ramen cooked and served by the cats, which, as it turned out, had gone viral on the internet. The scene then shifted to the past, showing Bunzo and Sasaki being taken in by Kenzo, a man who sold ramen on the street. Because Kenzo was quite busy with his work, he allowed Bunzo and Sasaki to be adopted by a cat-loving woman. Sasaki was very happy with his new home and new owner. But not so for Bunzo, who felt more comfortable living with Kenzo, so he ran away from the woman's house. Knowing that Bunzo was insistent on staying with him, Kenzo eventually allowed Bunzo to stay and accompany him while he worked. However, Kenzo was worried that some customers might not feel comfortable with Bunzo's presence. But surprisingly, they found Bunzo's presence very enjoyable because of his cute and adorable antics. In the present, Tamako was seen picking up a stray kitten from the street and bringing it to the ramen shop. They then fed the kitten and isolated it in a cage because it might be a feral cat that hadn't received vaccinations and could have diseases. So they had to ensure the kitten's condition first before making any physical contact. Sasaki then asked Tamako to keep an eye on the kitten, while Hana prohibited Bunzo and Sabu from getting close to the kitten since they were tasked with cooking food for the customers. Additionally, Sasaki planned to contact an animal protection organization to find a loving owner who could care for the kitten. Unexpectedly, the kitten escaped when Tamako opened the cage and jumped into Gasho's arms, who had just arrived. Gasho seemed so enchanted by the adorable kitten, and the kitten felt comfortable in her embrace. Therefore, they allowed Gasho to take care of the kitten, especially since she was also a cat lover. In the following days, Krishna appeared frustrated because she couldn't cut the noodle dough with precision. Even though the noodles used for the special ramen had specific standards that would affect their taste. Knowing this, Bunzo checked the knife used for cutting the noodle dough and found that it was slightly dull. As a result, Bunzo sharpened the knife so it would be sharp again, and once the knife was sharp, Krishna could cut the noodle dough to the thickness she wanted, meeting their ramen shop standards. In the following days, Tamako was seen watching a live gaming competition. In the competition, Sabu made it to the finals and fought fiercely, though in the end, he had to face defeat. Tamako, watching the match, looked sad and intended to comfort Sabu, but he seemed not to mind his loss and acknowledged his opponent's skill. Tamako then mentioned that Sabu had ignored an invitation from a professional team. Upon hearing that, Sabu said he had no idea about the invitation because he never checked his email inbox. Sabu, now preoccupied with the invitation, hurried off to check his inbox. Soon after, Sabu was seen daydreaming while working. He even made several mistakes, causing him to be reprimanded by his coworkers. In fact, the dumplings he was frying almost burned because Sabu was not focused on his work due to the invitation. Realizing this, Tamako tried to have a heart-to-heart talk with Sabu, where he revealed that he did receive an invitation from the professional team to join them. However, Sabu said he had declined the invitation because he didn't want to be tied to a contract and wanted to play games on his own terms. That night, a drunken man named Danzo entered the shop and ordered a bowl of ramen. Danzo then intended to smoke, but Sasaki politely asked him not to smoke for the comfort of other customers. At that moment, Danzo recognized Tamako as his former subordinate and began mocking her for working for the cats. Tamako tried to hold back her anger because she didn't want to cause a scene. But unexpectedly, the customers present defended Tamako and told Danzo to leave because he was making them uncomfortable. Not only the customers, but Bunzo and the other cats also openly expressed their dislike for Danzo because he had been rude to Tamako, even after she had resigned from her old job. Therefore, one of Danzo's subordinates apologized and took Danzo away from the ramen shop before he could cause a scene there. The next day, Tamako met Mikio, who shared a bit about Sasaki's past, explaining that he inherited wealth from his owner, a young woman who had passed away from a rare disease. Mikio explained that the woman had cared for Sasaki dearly because he had always been there to take care of her until her death. Mikio, who had been a friend of the woman, was asked to help Sasaki whenever he needed it. After the woman passed away, Sasaki inherited all her wealth and decided to open a ramen shop with Bunzo. After discussing a bit about Sasaki's past, Mikio then asked Tamako about her job. Tamako looked anxious and openly said that she might have become a cat lover, even though Bunzo had once said that they couldn't hire a cat lover at their ramen shop. Upon hearing that, Mikio laughed and said that Tamako didn't need to worry about that because the cats had agreed to hire her as a full-time employee. Upon arriving at the shop, Sasaki and the others prepared a simple surprise for Tamako because she was their first full-time human employee, and everyone looked happy to welcome her. The anime concluded with a flashback showing the moments Tamako experienced while working at Red Cat Ramen. In that moment, Tamako expressed her happiness working at the ramen shop managed by the cats and thanked her aunt for suggesting that she work at Red Cat Ramen. Moral lesson from the story: always be careful not to brush off your friends' feelings, unless they're cats, because they might just need a good grooming. And remember, if your ramen shop gets too popular, you might need to train a whole army of lazy cats to help out.